The headlamp Lumens arms race takes another step forward with the newest release from Acebeam with the H30 headlamp. The previous brightest headlamp I had to review was this Through Night TH30, which we'll see in a bit. It was good for 3300 lumens. The Acebeam H30 is good for 4000 lumens. It contains a 21700 battery and it has USB-C recharging and can act as a power bank. Thanks to Acebeam for sending this to me to take a look at. Here is the packaging that the light comes in. It's a nice retail box. The front advertises the big lumen numbers, USB-C, and the 21700 battery. It gives a lot of statistics. On the side here we see it is available at a 5000 and a 6500K. Right now it's only available as that 6500K with the red and green. It looks like a UV, red and Nisha high CRI option will be available soon. That red and Nisha option or UV would both be my favorites. The green is nice. The headlamp and all the accessories sit here and the light sits here. You get a bag with some extra O-rings. You get this USB cable, USB-C here, and then the USB-A double-sided for the power bank features. You get this nice manual that comes out, folds out with the instructions. You get the battery, which I'll insert some shots of here, the headlamp itself, and this nice strap. One thing I wish it came with was an adapter tube like the JetBeam I tested a few weeks ago did, so you could fit an 18650 in here and wouldn't have any rattle. This light itself is made from aircraft grade aluminum and is hard anodized black. Starting at this side here, we've got the door for battery open. You can see it's got some knurling on it, and you can unscrew the cap here. It's got a stiff spring in there, nicely in place. We take a look here at the threading. We can see the square cut threads. The board of this light is not perfectly centered in the body, with a bit more mass being on the emitter side here. This is similar to the JetBeam HR30 that I reviewed earlier this year. No problems here. While I've got it apart, this is the battery the light comes with. See, it's Acebeam, 5100 milliamp hours, it's 21700. It's good for 20 amps. Nice battery, flat, and then button top on that side. It does go down button top first. On the other side, you've got the USB-C recharging port. And if I unscrew that, the caps are very similar. And there is the USB-C port itself. You do have to remove the cap the entire way, and this side is less greased, but there is still an O-ring. And this is a little bit different here. We've got a plastic cap with, I believe it's a little gold grounding pin there to ground the electronics. When you are charging the light, it goes red, and when you're discharging the light, it goes blue, and I'll show that more in depth. The center of the body is where the business end is. On top there are two UI buttons. The orange square one here is the on-off mostly, and the black domed circle emitter here is the mode button. The back of the light has some shallow heat sinking here. Nothing real fancy. The front has the main emitter here in the middle, as you can see. It's a big Cree XHP 70.2 emitter in a fairly shallow orange peel reflector. On the front of the glass, there's just 19 millimeters of diameter there. Above and to the left and right are the colored emitters. On the left is the red and on the right is the green. They're behind frosted plastic lenses. The front aluminum piece here is held on with 3 small Torx screws. While it might seem like a simple thing, the headband on the H30 came pre-assembled, which I really like. It says Acebeam all over it. It says it on the top, the side, and the other side. The inside is orange, and it might be a little hard to see on camera, but it's got this kind of wavy silicone in here. This helps it stick to your forehead or stick to a helmet nicely. It's a nice touch that not all headbands have on lights. It's definitely a more premium thing. And the holder kind of for the light itself is made of silicon. You can see it's a full-backed model, and it is ribbed there for weight and cooling. It rotates in here. It's fairly stiff. To put it on and off, you've got to undo both caps and kind of work it on and off. Similar to what we've seen from other model lights. Armitac does this, and a few other manufacturers do too. This seems to work pretty well. Overall, the length of this light is 89.5 millimeters. At its narrowest on the end caps are 29 millimeters, and at its widest in the central tube is 39 millimeters. Weight with the strap and battery came in at 182 grams, which makes this on the heavy side. The weight's noticeable, but it carries fairly well when that top strap is adjusted. So since the Acebeam H30 is the brightest headlamp I have, I brought out the ThruNite TH30, which would be the second brightest headlamp I have. The Acebeam runs on a 21700 battery and the ThruNite on an 18650. So not 100% equal comparisons, but I did want to compare them and just kind of show the size differences here. The ThruNite is a little longer. It's a right angle light, so you could use it as an EDC. I wouldn't want to do that with the Acebeam, just the form factor it is. We can see the ThruNite has a little bit bigger head and reflector. They're both using the same LEDs, and you can see they look very similar in there. Diameter-wise, hard to compare kind of just because they're different style of lights, but you can see the differences between them. The main emitter in the Acebeam H30 uses a Cree XHP 70.2 LED in cool white. It sits behind a piece of anti-reflective coated glass, and it's got a pretty shallow orange peel reflector. The beam pattern is similar to other Cree XHP 70.2 LEDs, but without that donut in short ranges. It does have some of the Cree rainbow, and this is hard to show, especially with video lights, but I'll insert a picture and hopefully we'll show it the best. It's got a little bit of corona on the hot spot, and it gets a little bit warmer. As you keep going out from the center of the beam, it cools off some. You notice this at distance, but it's not awful. If you're a tint snob or something like that, it might bother you more, but if you're an average person looking for a good headlamp, using this for work or something like that, I don't think you'll mind it too much. The white LED is available in the following runtime spacings. It's available in 3 lumens, 120 lumens, 380, 1100. Turbo is good for 2200 lumens for 5.5 minutes. Then it drops down to 1000 lumens for 2.4 hours. The light also has Turbo Max, which has 4000 lumens for 1.5 minutes and then drops to 1000 lumens after 2.5 hours. For 2.5 hours. So white runtime had a total of 150 minutes from Turbo Max down to the low voltage protection kicking in. I saw a little more length in runtime from Turbo Max, about 2.5 minutes before it decreased. This decrease is quite substantial, down to 25% relative output from those 4000 lumens, so about 1000 lumens. Still, that's a ton of light for a headlamp. The light was able to maintain those 1000 lumens for the remainder of the 147 minutes, and that's a long time for a 1000 lumen output. The 21700 battery at 5100 milliamp hours really shows its advantage over an 18650 in this application. Heat was pretty well controlled too, which I was very thankful at. This light gets on the upper end of warmish, but never uncomfortably hot or hot enough to burn you when on the forehead. The red emitter in this light is a Cree XHP R2 emitter at 630 nanometers. Red only has one mode at 50 lumens, but it's diffused pretty well. And here it is. My video lights don't do it justice here, but its runtime is 10 hours, and it really has no hotspot. One thing I would prefer is to add a dimmer red mode for up-close map reading, because 50 lumens is really pretty bright. I could use half that or even less for just map reading. The green emitter is a Cree XHP G3 at 530 nanometers. It's rated for 70 lumens for a runtime of 11 hours. It's diffused very well and has no hotspots. You're not going to get a terrible amount of distance with this. We'll see it in my night shots, but it's good for maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 feet around you. It's plenty of light. Here are my night shots for the Acebeam H30 headlamp. And I'm going to start off in red, as you can see here. This is 50 lumens, which is pretty bright for red. It also goes to green. If I switch here, and green doesn't throw as well, you can kind of see the neighbor's fence there. Both red and green are very They're very even modes. If I switch back to red, you can see here, red has a hard time reaching the neighbor's fence here. But what I wanted to show in red mode was reading a map. 50 lumens, in my opinion, is just too bright to do that. It's, I wish there was a lower setting for red. This light also has a red that is a kind of emergency mode, but it doesn't have one on white, which I kind of like. They're saying this red flashing mode will last for 72 hours, which is impressive. So here is the lowest white mode, and hard to pick up on camera. This is listed at 3 lumens. It does a nice job illuminating your feet and would be great for walking when you're trying to preserve night vision, although I'd kind of like a mode that was maybe 1 notch down from this, maybe lumen and a half lumen, something like that. Bumping up, this mode is low, 120 lumens, and if I pan around here, we can see pretty well with this. It has no real problems. We can see the fence of the neighbor and their little hut, but really not any further than that. Bumping up to mid, we go to 380 lumens. Not a big difference, but you can see the throw distance improves. Bumping up again, we go to high, which is 1100 lumens. Really, out of a headlamp, this is impressive, especially considering high is rated for 2.9 hours, almost 3 hours at 1100 lumens. That's a lot of run time. We can see the end of the neighbor's fence there. That's probably 7,500 feet. Bumping up one more time, we have turbo, which is 2,200 lumens and 1,000 lumens. Illuminates that fence pretty nice there. And if I go to absolute turbo, we have 4,000 lumens. Now, this is a headlamp. I don't think you're going to use this in front of you very much because it's just too much light. But at a distance there, if you need to see something, you can even start to see those trees there. So here is my MSR D4 for comparison's sake. This is roughly 4,000 lumens as well. It throws a little further, not quite as wide a beam, but there is the headlamp again, 4,000 lumens. And there is the MSR D4. Fairly comparable, as you can see there. So the H30, as we've seen, has 2 buttons. On top, it has a circle and a square next to each other for UI control. The square is flat, and the circle is domed a little bit. Depending on what color mode you're in, the buttons do slightly different things. For normal white operating mode, the square is on-off. When the light comes on, it goes to the previously used mode, so it has memory. Using the circle, you can go up in modes, and then it will reset. It goes up to turbo, as you can see here. Double click to go to turbo max. Triple click to go into red SOS with the square, as we can see here. You just press the circle there to go back to the low mode. Light also has a moonlight mode that you can get to by just holding the square, and it comes on in moonlight mode, which is a little bit bright at 3 lumens. When you're in a white mode, you long press on the circle to get into a colored mode. You press again, short press to switch modes, and you long press again to go to white. Overall, the UI takes a little bit of getting used to, but I think 2 buttons makes sense and makes it pretty easy to use. Let's talk about recharging some here. So I've got the included cable hooked up to a Anker power bank, and you can see a little red LED in there. That means the light's charging. It's under this right cap here, as you can see. You must completely remove the tail cap to access the port, and maximum charge rate I saw during recharging from an empty battery was right at an even 2 amps. And this is great to see, and it speeds up the charging process a bit, but it still took a total of 3 hours and 23 minutes to completely charge the battery to full. While charging, there is a red LED, as I mentioned before, and it's solid while charging and goes out when it's completely charged. The included Acebeam branded battery is a button top, but flat tops also work in this light for functions of the light and recharging. Standard USB-A to USB-C cables work fine on this light that's included, but I had some problems with straight USB-C to C using Anker cables and power bank or chargers. Not sure exactly the cause of that. This light can also be used as a power bank. I've got the same cable that's provided with the light, except this time I've got my load plugged into the other end. You can see it goes blue when I am recharging something, or in this case, putting my load tester on. And you can see here, it pulls 2 amps real comfortably. I've adjusted this up to 2.5 amps, no problem. But the way this works, it will shut off if the battery gets too low and the battery's not completely full right now. It's a nice option to have on USB-C. I think you'll see this pretty common on a lot of lights because it doesn't really take much for the manufacturer to add, and it's always nice to have another source of power for your phone or other electronic device if you're out camping and have extra power available. So for me, the pros of this light are the pre-assembled headband with silicon all the way around. It sounds simple, but it really makes for a nice light to use. It's got pretty good heat control for such a bright, powerful light. You've got a really long runtime for 1000 lumens, about 147 minutes. It's got an okay beam profile for a Cree XHP 70.2, and it's got great beam profiles for the red and green emitters. And it's nice to be able to charge and discharge this light at a rapid speed. A couple cons are, this is on the heavy side. The top band helps a lot control that weight. And I'd like to see an additional lower power red LED mode for map reading or trying to preserve your night vision a little bit better. My conclusion is Acebeam has built a flagship headlamp with the H30 that ticks a lot of boxes. The Cree XHP 70.2 isn't my favorite emitter due to Cree rainbow and the beam pattern, but if you're not really that picky, I don't think you'll mind. They've made a light that's able to sustain 1000 lumens for a substantial amount of time and burst up to 4000 lumens if you need it for short durations. The penalty you pay is weight. At 182 grams, it's on the heavy side, but I got used to it, especially after adjusting the top head strap to be a little bit tighter. I'm glad that USB-C is becoming more common on lights, and I like the extra power bank feature here as it's a nice bonus, even though I don't think I'll use it a lot. I think the Acebeam H30 is best for someone who needs a high amount of output for a long amount of time. It certainly has significantly better runtime than most or any of the 18650 based headlamps out there right now. As always, check out the description of this video. I'll have links to this light on where you can pick it up if you're interested in more information. If you've got one of these or are thinking about picking one up, leave any comments below and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have too. As always, liking these videos and subscribing to my channel helps me continue to make content like this for you. Make sure you're subscribed because I've got a couple really cool things coming up in the future.